Welcome, restoration professionals, to Restoration Minutes, your source for industry information and education. Be sure to like and rate us if you enjoy the content we provide.
All right, welcome in everyone. Today we have Erin and from Phoenix with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about some new things that Phoenix has, and some items, obviously, that a lot of people don't realize that Phoenix actually has built into all their equipment already existing. And so we're going to kind of explore some of that stuff and just talk shop a little bit. And welcome in, Erin. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with Phoenix.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Erin Hynum, I've been with Phoenix over 15 years now. Started originally, came out of school, grad school anyway, got on with Thermistore. They sent me to a drying school and honestly knew nothing about it. It was an eye-opening experience. But one thing I tell people is even back then, I saw everybody writing all the readings down back then on, pieces of paper. And I thought, "Ah, there's got to be a better way to do this. Maybe, some sensors and some wireless technology." And, I wasn't the smartest guy. Other people had already thought of this. It wasn't that revolutionary. But I'm just saying that I've followed it along and been excited about it. And, I think, a lot of people in the industry probably are aware of, we have a product out right now, which is DryLink. And, we build it into our equipment and, it does asset tracking and remote monitoring. And it's some pretty cool technology. That one, the current system is based on Bluetooth technology, but uses cellular to get the data where it's going and GPS in the trucks and stuff like that. But you know, what's got me most excited is what we got coming, and I'll probably just have to tease a little bit about that because the reveal on that's going to be in January. Unbelievable stuff coming. It's really going to change the industry. I think remote monitoring is here to stay. I think contractors are going to want to get on board and embrace it. And I'll give you a few quick examples that people should be thinking about. I get it. You're assuming that this technology works and is easy to use. So I get it. But think about, if you do mostly residential jobs, if you could not go to the job site even one day, what is the labor savings on that to you? I gotta imagine
Labor,
minimum.
fuel, vehicle,
Yep,
wear and tear, the whole nine
all of
yards.
that.
Yep.
Just one day. And if you say I do mostly commercial, I'm guessing you're on the job site on a large loss. There's people there all the time, but there's probably someone that's spending maybe all their day or a good chunk of their day just taking readings. Like, imagine if you didn't have to do that at all. Like, that just automatically happened. So, those are some examples. Asset tracking is pretty straightforward. We've got some advancements on the asset tracking that will be revolutionary. No one's doing it. And if I could tell you, like, you're not going to lose, or you're either going to lose zero or very little equipment compared to what you lose now, what does that add up to per year? I mean,
Yeah,
really,
I
I've
can't
talked to a
tell
lot
you
of.
how many pieces over my 20-year career in this industry that of dehues. I mean, sometimes if it was a good person, I would get a call. Sometimes, especially on a commercial job site, 2 years later. I mean,
Yeah,
you remember like after Hurricane Harvey, how many dehues and air movers were left and air scrubbers were left in Texas when we ran over to Florida when the storms hit over there.
yeah,
And, but I got a call, I mean, as recent as like a year ago from Hurricane Sally, the two DUs that got rolled into a maintenance closet at a condo, and, that's 5 grand just with two DUs easy back then, and they were not great ones, but they're still DUs. I mean, so
yeah.
definitely being able to prevent that loss, much less all the other, bells and whistles of remote monitoring and asset tracking and verifying your billing is going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I think I think you're gonna see in the next generation of it that, you're talking about improvements where at the end of the day, your bottom line, your profit percentage is gonna be increased, and it's gonna be easy to demonstrate how that's gonna be possible. And so I think, and it's gonna be a matter of time before it's the standard in the industry. So, I would
I
say
agree.
definitely be looking out for that.
Yeah, I know I've met, and I was telling you before we jumped on that I've actually met, with some underwriters and some TPAs, over the last few months since I've made the transition to technology from the actual contractor side of things. And all of them obviously see that, remote monitoring and true monitoring of equipment performance and things like that is the future. These insurance companies are wanting to, I'm not going to say they don't mind paying claims because they all don't want to pay claims. I mean, to what we want to be paid as contractors, but well, they know that they have to pay what's, real. But
Yeah.
contractors, a lot of contractors, we've done this to ourselves over the years. There are good players and bad players, and some bad players have lied on their readings, which I know is an issue. There are a lot of contractors that have fudged on the amount of equipment that are on the job sites. And so it's just getting to where you've got to have good backup and you've got to be able to document, document, document. And yeah, I definitely remember the old paper forms. We'd print them out in landscape so we could have all the days and outside readings, inside readings, and guys would go. And then it's like, can I read that guy's handwriting? And then
Yeah.
fortunately, the other programs kind of coming along to where you could do it, digitally on your phone or your iPad, with Mika and Moisture Mapper and whatever they call it now. I know it changes. The number one programs that are out there change names, it seems like every 6 months, even though it's the same software. Someone else has bought it, whatever the case is. So being able to have that reporting, easily and readily available without actually having to drive to the job sites, maybe to do some fine tuning and some equipment manipulation and things like that is really, I feel like, going to be a game changer and time saver. And I'm not sure if the bills are going to come, are going, the profit margins are going to go higher, but it's going to make you more efficient, definitely as a company.
Well,
Because the
I can
insurance
describe.
companies will probably not want to pay the same amount that they would for a person in a vehicle to kind of go out there. But those people then can actually go perform another job, and actually, and set more equipment that does make you more money. So the bottom line for sure, it may not own each job individually, but the bottom line across the board, instead of being able to do 3 jobs, you can do 5, depending on your capability, or 20, now you can do 30.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you some examples of how you can increase your revenue. And here's one example. Most job management softwares will tell you what the ICRC equipment recommendations are for a job. But that relies on the technician to actually do that. And if you have connected equipment, we know what the technician is doing. We know exactly how many pints they put on that job. We know exactly how many air movers they put on that job. And if they don't put the right amount on, we're going to tell them in that app, like, you're not done. You're not done. And I'll tell you another thing with asset tracking, I've also proved out, let's say you've got a software and you don't have connected equipment. The tech might put 5 air movers on the job, but they only wrote down 4. And I found that real quick too, because asset tracking showed 5 air movers. And the owner was like, hey, I'm only billing for 4. What's up with that? They drove to
Yep.
the job site. And sure
That's
enough,
a good point.
so those are ways that people are just leaving money on the table. Like they're shorting themselves.
Yeah.
So let me give you another example. People aren't used to a leave behind moisture point. And I want to tell you, so moisture content readings. So, and why is this important? Well, first of all, today you get 1 reading a day, right? Well, with remote monitoring, you're going to get way more readings than that. And that moisture point is the justification for why your dehumidifier is on that job. All this talk, adjusters saying, well, if it doesn't have 5 grain depression, I'm not paying for it. That doesn't really make sense. You're trying to keep that room as dry as you can to dry out the materials. And so the lower you can get the grains, the greater the vapor pressure differential, the quicker that room dries. So that those moisture points, those leave behind moisture points, are the justification as to why your DUs are on that job.
This is the DryMax XL Pro, an LGR dehumidifier designed with technological advancements and maximum mobility. Like how its 2-position handle hauls it upstairs with ease. It makes it perfect for carrying a stack of air movers. DryPhone remote monitoring plugs into its onboard USB, while 2 AA batteries power its built-in connection to DryLink for asset tracking, even when it's unplugged. That's just a hint of what makes the DryMax XL Pro the best in the business. Exactly what you'd expect from Phoenix.
I'm glad you brought that up because, I sat through Chuck DeWalt's class, and I know that they're in the process of trying to get integrated with you guys if they hadn't already. And I was, have being what I would consider a veteran restorer in the industry, going and sitting in Chuck's class, and Chuck is one of the smartest guys I've known in this industry.
Yeah, he's a really smart
The,
guy.
the way that he goes about his drying theory and being
Mhm.
able to sometimes pump more equipment into a building, but then being able to dry everything in place and shorten the dry time and validate that, and especially if we got your
Mhm.
data and stuff on the back end to do capturing all that is love it. I love it all. And to learn his stuff, thank God he's got the app, because in order for me to learn his stuff, is the way he
Yeah.
does things, man. I got one friend of mine, Chris Carter, who I know will be listening to this
Yeah.
podcast. And Chris, I think's been through the class 4 times, and he's like, man, it's a lot if you really want to learn it,
Yeah.
because that's my thing. I really, when I go in and I want to learn something, I want to be able to explain it to others, and,
Right.
really learn some of these things. It takes a lot, but the good thing is that they got the app out there, give you guys an
Mhm.
endorsement while we're sitting here talking to Phoenix, but, you know,
No, it's all good. Chuck's
that's
got
all
a
good. My thing is we're all friends in the industry, hopefully, and,
yeah.
that's what it all comes down to, as we all work together. What about, you know, moving into like equipment? I got to test out the new Drymax XL when you guys are first rolling out the first versions of that through, I guess, a
Yeah.
program you guys had done with the Ramsco or something like that. They delivered that, and some of the, I forgot the name of the new fans, the little small fans that stack on it.
Oh, the Focus 2?
Yeah, the Focus 2. How's the reception in the industry been with those? They seem to be really taking off. Also, it seems like the way it's designed, it keeps guys from dropping as much as they usually drop with the bigger, bulkier dehues. And so,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, so our most recent, like the Focus 2 has had a great reception in the market due to it just being on high speed. It's only 1.1 amps, so it's incredibly low amps. So people love that, and it's so small that you can fit it like if you have a closet or in a bathroom or something, or stand it upright in the hallway. I mean, it's a versatile fan. The thing that it's not good at is static pressure, so if you need to
Yep.
pressurize something, it's not a good fan for that.
Yeah, go back to your
But,
action.
there's other fans for that. And then in terms of the dehumidifiers, the thing we launched most recently was the Drymax XL Pro. That's the one that now
Yeah, that's what I was
replaces
meaning to talk about. I'm sorry. I let the pro off of it. I apologize about
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, XL Pro. So that's our most recent one. So that's the one that has the flip up handle,
Yep.
and then it extends up so you're not so hunched over when you're coming up and down stairs. And then you can stack Air Maxes and Focus 2s right on the fan like a dolly and bring them in. So, and it's got our asset tracking built in, so you don't have to even buy a tag. You just put the batteries on there and you're good to go. So a lot of great advancements.
How long do
You're
those
gonna
batteries last?
well, they only have to operate when the machine is not plugged in, and all they're doing is sending out a signal like this. So, they're good for, I would say at least 3 years,
Okay.
minimum.
Okay.
It's 2 AA batteries, and they got a fair amount of charge for what they're doing. That's the thing is, like, for this remote monitoring, we're not talking about a lot of data, We're not trying to send video or audio, we're talking smaller amounts of data. So it's very doable, all this stuff that we're talking about. Yeah, so big advancements coming, huge advancements. But back to the equipment, we do have something, it's gonna be a little bit yet, but there will be another piece of equipment with even more advancements coming. But you can see what we've done. Phoenix started with, stainless steel, super efficient. That was where we really, hung our hat to begin with, was like
Yeah, we
efficient, low
probably,
amp air movers, high capacity dehumidifiers with low amps. And, I mean, but, they were big units. And then
yeah,
eventually
I loved
we,
them.
yeah, no, they worked really well. They were just really heavy. But
Oh yeah,
now we've,
Royal Plus, where I just came from, I bet Matt probably owns, God, well over 1,000 of 'em.
wow.
And so
Yeah.
we got
The
a lot of
stainless
the
ones?
tractor trailers with the stainless one still in it, and
Yeah.
they're beasts. I mean, and they're
Yeah.
big, they're bulky, but they work. And
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
they were
he loves those. Matter of fact, he was heartbroken when you guys quit manufacturing those. What, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, or something like that.
Well, it's funny, the 250 Max, we just got a few left in stock. I mean, we're done building them, but we
Yeah.
just got a few 250 Max left in stock. But, the thing was, the writing was on the wall in terms of sales. People want stuff, this is what I hear a lot is the owners tell me, my guys take all your stuff right away. Well, why? Because it's easy to move around, right? It's small, it's easy to carry. It's all those types of things. So we have a patent on our 5 coil design that we have in the XL Pro, and we had it in the XL too, that allows us to get that many pints into that small a box. And you really don't see competitors able to match what we're doing in terms of that footprint and that capacity. There is no real competitor to the XL Pro, and there really wasn't for the XL either. So, I'm just saying, I when we talked about it, it's hard to understand why you would want an upright. It just takes up more space.
Yeah.
Like if I had tractor trailers, I would have XL Pros on there because I'm bringing
Well,
twice as many of them.
well, that's
You
what we
know,
moved to every time I would place orders in the last couple of years was the pros.
yeah,
I outfitted it. I could get, I'd say about 30% more equipment on there, especially tagging that with the low profile air movers.
you
And,
should get all.
we were able to get more air scrubbers and things like that into our trailers than what we previously were used to with the stainless ones. But, if something's paid for and it's still working, it's hard to replace it.
Keep it, keep it. Yeah. In fact, a common thing I see is people buy our horizontal units, and
Yep.
then I go to their shop and that's what they use day to day. But the upright units are up on the shelves waiting for a storm. Like they didn't
Exactly.
get rid of them. They're going to
Yeah, and that's pretty
utilize them.
much what we did. We cycled in the pros and anything that was the nicer roto molded stuff, out into the fields for day to day use, and then we'd pull back the stainless steel and the bulkier stuff. Still had it from another companies, those old 2800s. I'm not sure if you remember those without the company's name. And well, I got you on here, and those things are like humongous, like the size of a dresser.
Yeah, they're big.
Moved all that bulky stuff over to our storm stuff, and there were
Yeah,
even some old beat up looking air movers we had one time, and I tried to get Matt to let me get rid of them. He's like, "No, man, they're paid for." And sure enough, during Ian, and then again this last time during Helene and Milton, we had every single one of them out on jobs, and so it's like
that's great.
it's profit.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do the same thing. But yeah, so we're always looking to, so for a long time we were really, we still are, but we really changed from only efficiency to working on, you know, the ergonomics of the unit, usability, all that kind of stuff. And we're still doing it. But
Well,
then
it's better for worker safety as well. I mean, my guys
it
trying to
is.
unload those big bulky units, would get kind of scary sometimes if it's still storming and raining outside. Whereas the smaller units, they can sit it on the ground and rock and grab two of them and roll instead of having one only roll one. That's another thing is that like efficiencies. Having those smaller units, guy can grab one, extend the arms, even on the not the pro, but even the other one before that, grab two of them and walk, and go
Yeah.
with it and carry two of them. And then with the pro, you can even put some air movers and stuff on it and go that way if you wanted to. And so it makes getting equipment set a lot faster, a lot more efficient as well.
Yeah, I mean that's what we saw that like that was missing. And like with the Air Max, we just saw that like stacking and cord wrap, like have a spot to lock in that plug and make sure that stack is secure as can be.
Yep.
And I mean, I think we knocked it out of the park with the Air Max because just stacking and cord wrap alone, I think sold just unbelievable amounts of the Air Max.
Yeah.
So that's been important. We've got I'll tell you a product we got coming so we're going to do an update on the Guardian R500. We're going to turn it into a 700, and really it's going to be the exact same footprint, other than it's going to gain, I think, about a half an inch, maybe an inch in height, but it'll stack on the other ones. You
Oh
really
my.
will hardly be able to tell the difference by looking at it. And the other thing is, starting in January with what I'm talking about, a version 2 of our dry link that we're going to have a big announcement about exactly what does that even mean. It's going to have all of our stuff is gonna just everything is gonna come with technology built in. So
That's
That's
amazing.
just the way you're gonna get it.
That
So
is amazing.
and a advancements on it, big advancements. So that's all coming in 2026. And like I said, that reveal is gonna be in mid-January. So
Do you
that'd be
guys
exciting.
still do you guys still manufacture, the heating systems and things like that that are just, the
We
portable heat
so
and stuff like that? Because I know we're coming up on the freeze
Yep,
time of the year, so that was something, that I always struggled with in the field, if I didn't
yeah,
have a way to keep the environment at least 70 degrees, in that range that
yeah,
heaters operate efficiently in 72 to 90 degrees.
yep.
Oh, it was always an issue, sometimes we're having to pump in, direct fire heating, or get what I used to call as a drag-in, but don't you guys have something that like a Firebird or something like that that's out there still?
Yeah, we've got the Firebird Compact 20, so it runs off 110 power. That seems to be the most popular. We used to have a 220 version that would plug in. It came with a plug for your range or a dryer plug, so you could get 30 or 50 amps. Give you a little bit more power, the but the sales on that weren't as great. But we do keep the Compact 20. It can run off of up to 4 110 circuits. Now it'll maximize the whole 15 amps. Like, you can't plug 2 of those plugs into the same circuit. It's not gonna work. But if you get them all plugged in, you're gonna get 20,000 BTUs. Like, if you live in the north, and you have a standard house, you probably got, I don't know, 70 to 90,000 BTUs. So 20,000 is, you know, it's meaningful heat. And what's interesting is, like, in this industry, unfortunately, we've really had a hard time selling our desiccants, which is a shame because I don't know. I see people putting dehumidifiers in refrigerants in situations where they're not going to succeed. I mean, desiccants have their place, and I wish more people would use them, for getting things either really dried or working in extreme temperatures. Desiccants are fantastic. Now, heaters help for what you just said. Like, if you're in a basement and it's too cold and your refrigerant isn't going to work and you don't have a desiccant, get
Or
some
a
heat down
garage
there.
sometimes in the wintertime,
Yeah.
obviously, things
Sometimes,
like
yeah,
that.
sometimes garages aren't insulated. They're hard to even heat. But yeah,
Yep.
we do have a heater, and yeah, we sell a lot of them, and we still have it, and, there's a line item for it, and if you know when to use it, it's definitely a tool you should have. I mean, not only in the north, because I mean, it gets below 70 almost everywhere. So
Yeah, that definitely, and that was the thing, I just moved up here to Ohio from Orlando, and it was shocking for me, because I've lived in several places in Florida and from the Panhandle all the way down to the Keys in my lifetime, and it was shocking to me when
In a world where there are a lot of false promises, Helixco has delivered the most advanced time and material project management and billing platform available. Check them out today at helixco.io.
my office in Jacksonville would actually get ice and have some burst pipes, in Orlando, we're below the frost line, and it's a 2-hour drive, It's so
yeah,
it's pretty much anything from that Jacksonville, Florida, the rest of the coastline of Louisiana, Mississippi, you'll know, and it gets cold, in the wintertime. And so you've got to have heaters and things like that. And
yeah,
so we end up transporting all of our smaller portable heaters, up there to that office during the wintertime. And then obviously all the way up into our Maryland locations,
yeah.
they kept them all the way up there. What about the air scrubbers? I know that a lot of the companies, I think including Phoenix, has gone almost exclusively to like, it's somewhere between a 500 and 700 CFM, portable
Yeah.
air scrubber, like the suitcase air scrubbers type things. I know you guys have the Guardian R. Have y'all stopped with like the 2000s? Y'all don't make anything that's in that range anymore,
Well,
correct?
we don't, and it's a lot of the when you get into the 2000s, a lot of people are making just kind of those metal boxes with a blower in them, and they're all
Hard to
it's
get good
all
steals in those as well.
yeah, it's really a very price driven market in the 2000 CFM, and hard to understand how to innovate and win in that market. So just really haven't cracked that one open yet. But I wouldn't say we've given up on it. We just have had other areas that are more impactful that we've been going after.
Well, I think, from the commercial world, which is where I've spent, most of my career in the last 9, 10 years, the smaller ones, were great. Once I kind of made the move from the bigger, bulkier units that were just hard to move around, the wheels would come wobbly and it took a guy to be banged into walls with them. You had to make sure you had your extension cord to plug into every single one of them. And it just got to be a pain. Whereas, especially if you're doing schools and commercial structures, you could take them and sit them just about like you do your air movers, the newer ones, and space them out to make sure that you're getting it. The only thing that made it a little more difficult is if I was doing a fungal job and I need to get, a certain amount of CFM, if I needed to get 2000 negative pressure, inside of a
Right.
it did make it a little more difficult to fit the small, utilizing the smaller ones to kind of duck them out. Cause now I got to try to open up a couple of different windows and build stuff, versus one. Other than that, the placement was very, very user friendly and space saving on vehicles for sure. Because I could get 4 of those and still be smaller than my footprint on a 2000. And I got the same CFM. So especially if I'm
Right.
just recirculating air.
And and you're getting more capture zone too, right? So more area for the particulates to be captured. So yeah. So right now, yeah, we just have the smaller one. We're moving to the 700 CFM. You'll see that coming early next year sometime, and um, again, it'll have technology built into it, and that'll be coming out. And I'm not saying that we won't have a big one in the future, but there isn't anything imminent in that area.
Well, most companies go where the demand is, and the demand obviously here in the last, I'd say 4 years has been on the smaller units for sure. Definitely the last four or
Yeah,
5 years. Well,
yeah,
don't want to take up too much more of your time. Do you have anything else that, Phoenix is rolling out that you're allowed to talk about besides I know that you kind of teased us with the Dry Link 2.0 that'll be rolling out first of the year.
yeah,
Is there any other, like, as far as pieces of equipment or new technology or anything like
yeah.
that you can share with us?
I'll just say that it's a little bit farther out, but it's in process. Is another dehumidifier
Okay.
that'll have really cool stuff. But that one's a little farther off and might not even be next year. That might be a early 2027, but it's underway. So we'll see how the timing goes. It always depends what you run into while you're doing it. So we're still innovating, right? I mean, we feel like we're on the forefront of the technology stuff. We feel like we're on the forefront of the usability stuff. But you rest on your laurels and people just pass you by. That's what's so good about competition.
100%. I mean, my motto in life has always been evolve or die,
Yeah,
as a
it's
business.
so true.
And, and in everything we do in life too, is my opinion. I'm a little probably radical for some people. I'm always believing in trying out, especially technology, trying something out. And, you know, you may try 2 things out and find that only one works, but at least you tried it.
Yeah,
Because everybody's business is a little bit different. There are some guys out there I know in the industry that only do commercial, and there's some guys that do both. And, then there are a lot of guys that, they stick to the residential because it's more consistent. Whatever your model is, and, I think Phoenix definitely has, a model of equipment, obviously, that will work for you. I do know that a lot of consultants, on jobs in my last 3 or 4 years where we would run, especially after a hurricane or a freeze polar vortex type of event, and we would be dropping generators and deskins, have been pushing more for portable equipment, even though I'm still going to have generators there to power it. Uh, and so, we started making a stop on buying larger equipment, because of that, and making more push to add generators to power more portable stuff, and so
and
the industry is always evolving as well. And so we have to kind
yeah,
of match,
definitely.
match it. Well, Aaron, I definitely appreciate having you on here today and you giving up some of your free time to talk to us, and looking forward to hearing more from you, in January when Dry Link 2 rolls out. I'd like to definitely get you back on
Yeah,
here and let you kind of
for
fully
sure.
go through all the new updates. All right.
Absolutely. Hey, I really appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I look forward to being on again in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.